And we're up at the start for the last race of the day in the Town Challenge Cup, the newly named Town Challenge Cup back in June this year, which is the open women's 4 event between Leander Club and Bath University on the left-hand side in the Berks station, and Yale University from the United States of America on the right-hand side of your screen in the Bucks station.
So these are all young athletes, sort of under 25. The eldest is 25 years of age, and the youngest is 19 years old. So Yale are over here in strength, aren't they? They've got a women's team here, and they've got a men's team here as well. It's amazing how many of these American universities have come over here to compete this year.
And the Yale crew, quite an international outfit with an American, Australian, a French and a British rower. Meg Galloway is the sole US representative in the crew, and Sophie Deans in the 2-seat, the Australian.
It's a phenomenal thing, isn't it? The funding now in US women's rowing due to Title IX, the opportunities this is giving to female athletes from around the world to go and race in these great facilities, great outfits.
So we've delayed this race because Leander and Bath University had a slight technical issue, which meant that the race needed to be postponed, and hence why it's been moved to the end of the program. But this is our last race of the day, the Town Challenge Cup.
Attention, go!
Good early start there from Yale.
Yeah, it looked like perhaps the girls on the bow side just pulled it around a little bit off the front because they really wrenched over, and you can see that they're paying for that now as they move across, and we're going to have a clash of blades.
Oh my God, the Leander crews have to move out of the way really harshly to avoid it. Let's hope they don't hit those buoys.
So
and the Yale crew's heading over the other side.
Both crews having to straighten up there, probably both a little bit too close to the centre, but the Yale crew really came around very hard in those first couple of strokes.
So they've come off better from that fracas. It's half a length up from this Yale crew. Now both crews really have to put that behind them and get into something sustainable. Looks like they're converging again.
And we've seen a number of the Cox's fours both in the Y folds and in this struggle with their steering, so the athletes just need to get composed here, get themselves back on the correct side to make sure we can get this race out.
And Yale have managed to get the better of this, getting a length up, but I don't think this is the end of it. I think these crews are really going to be competitive in this Leander composite crew on the Berkshire station on the left-hand side of your screen.
When we back up to the start, you can see that Yale crew moving very hard over towards the middle. They're very lucky they didn't clash blades there. They're just perfect timing that the Yale blades went underneath the Leander and Bath University blades.
And they moved out of their way to get the crew on the left-hand side. They really moved out of the way to avoid the clash. So there, the crew on the yellow boat on the left-hand side really stopped the rot. The margin is pretty much the same. Now we can see if they can get into a really long loping rhythm. Like you're talking about, the Cox's 4 is a different rhythm to a Cox 4, and see if they can use that to row through.
That's right, and they're really different the way they're rowing it, aren't they?
Very much, very much. The Yale crew on the right-hand side there is a bit more compact, explosive. You can see the legs and hips all moving in one movement and just trying to accelerate the boat, whereas the crew on the left-hand side, the British crew, is much more long with their bodies and just levering the boat past.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure which way this is going to go. For me, it looks like the Yale crew is maybe just a little bit too punchy, a little bit too aggressive, and I feel like they may pay for that down the track. Whereas the Leander crew, even though I think they could probably sit back and just let that boat work and run for them a little bit better, perhaps they're in something that'll be a little bit more sustainable as they come down the track here.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? Sometimes this punchy rhythm works, and sometimes the long loping stuff looks efficient, but like you said earlier, it could become heavy. So getting that balance between rowing a really nice long rhythm that's sustainable and good boat speed but not heavy, and then rowing a compact rhythm that's dynamic and lively and light but not too short and bouncy.
The Yale crew will just have to be careful here. They're heading towards the booms. There's a few steering struggles that we've seen early on.
It looks like the crew on the right hand side of your screen there from Leander, looks like they're coming back on terms, and they might be rowing through with this long rhythm we looked at.
You can see all the boats on the outside of the course. Just sending a little bit of wash down here, which will hit the crews. It's not easy.
The umpire's going to be working. Flags back up. Yale's under warning. Yale react to move away. That slows the boat down. Every time you put the rudder on, it's going to be slowing the boat down.
Yeah, not only does it act like a brake, but it also unsettles the boat. It makes the boat unbalanced. It tends to frazzle everyone a little bit, particularly on a course like this where you know that steering is so important, because on one side you've got a hard boom, on the other side you have another crew. And we know that if you get too close to the centre or you impact on the other crew, you could be disqualified. So it is particularly nerve-wracking, much more so than typically a buoyed course would be.
And we look at this, and there's loads of space between the crews. There's lots of space to the blades, to the booms. But when you're in there, it doesn't feel. It
does not feel like that.
It feels really closed.
I had the steering foot when we raced here in 2011 in the women's quad, and it really feels like you have a lot less room than you actually do. And I was just so terrified of running the crew up those wooden booms that it's pretty much all I thought about all the way down the track, which is probably why we didn't make it to Sunday.
I spoke to one of the Irish coaches, one of the club coaches early in the week, and the kids came down and they came off saying, oh, it's really narrow. And in a really funny way the Irish say, it's like, it's okay, it'll get wider. So as the athletes get used to the week, and he's right, as you sit on it, it does feel wider and wider, though physically, obviously, nothing changes.
So a shot there in the sunset of Leander Club and Bath University. Looks like that longer, rangier rhythm just starting to pay off here as we get into the guts of the race. This is where it starts to hurt, and this is where probably that bit of aggression and punchiness that the Yale crew had wasn't going to be all that sustainable down the track. And Leander Club and Bath University really sitting back away from it now as they look like they're getting more and more confident to sit back. At first it looked like they were a little bit over their handles, thought they could have just done with a little bit more patience through the back end, but they seem to be relaxing into their rhythm a bit now.
They do, and I guess the Yale crew they knew they had to do something. They had to attack this race, and they did exactly what was required of them. Perhaps, like you said, the bow side went too early and the boat didn't go straight and made it harder for themselves, but ultimately this crew in the yellow boat here on the left-hand side of the screen from Leander Club and Bath University is just using a much more efficient, longer, steadier rhythm and just gradually moving away.
And they're a little bit older, a little bit more experienced than the Leander Club and Bath University crew. Emily Ashford, 26 years of age. Emily Ford, 23. Emily Francis, 23. Sam Corty, 25 years of age, as compared to the Yale University crew, 19, 21, 22 years of age. Meg Galloway and Sophie Deans up in the bow pair, 22 years of age. They're the more senior of the athletes in the crew.
And also the power looks, the British crew from Leander and Bath University, about 7 kilos per person heavier. These girls have all been training hard all year, so if they're 7 kilos heavier, it means that they're stronger. And the British crew on the left-hand side there, composite crew from Leander Club and Bath University, really rowing very nicely here at the end of the day. The closures are almost empty. They won't really care. They've come here to win races, and what a great sunset and everything rowing down the course there.
Incredibly picturesque. It's been an amazing day of racing and weather. See the back there of the bow woman, Emily Ashford. It's an experienced crew. Georgia Francis raced the women's double at the World Cups 1 and 2 and the European Championships in 2017. So it is a crew with international pedigree. Certainly we would probably have expected to see the result fall this way.
Yeah, and their boat it's got lottery stickers on it, so it's obviously a boat supplied by the British rowing team. So these are athletes that are part of the British system, and the calibre of the rowing is showing that.
As they come down towards the line, it will be Leander Club and Bath University in this postponed race of the Town Challenge Cup over Yale University from the United States of America.
Controlled and mature row there from Leander Club and Bath University.